Hey y'all, it's Brody, and today I'm here to give you my top 10 books of 2019. The first book I picked up because of Kayla from Books and Lala nonstop talking about Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This book follows a 20-something-year-old apartment sitter who is down on her luck. She's broke, she needs money, so she takes a job apartment sitting. And there are these rules where you can't talk to other people in the complex, you can't spend the night anywhere else, you have to stay there. Some apartment people go missing, and it's up to the main character to figure out what the fuck's going on. It's very suspenseful. It's very reminiscent of Rosemary's Baby and American Horror Story Hotel. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars. It made me very anxious, very atmospheric, and I am super looking forward to reading more books by Riley Sager. The next book I have talked about in a recent recommendations video. That is Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. I read this for the Asian Readathon back in May, I believe. It is a YA dark fantasy novel, high fantasy, that takes place on an island where every generation there are 3 sisters who are born who are going to have to compete in a competition to the death, and then the winner takes the throne. It follows the 3 sisters, Mirabella, Arsinoe, and Catherine. They all have different powers, Catherine is a poisoner, Arsinoe is a naturalist, and Mirabella can control the elements. And this is leading up to the competition. I also read the sequel this year, One Dark Throne. I also read the sequel this year, which was also really good, and I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the series. Another sort of recent read, I read this book in November for Indigathon, and that is Queen of the Conquered by Case and Calendar. This was one of our most anticipated releases. It did not disappoint. I've talked about it in basically every video I've posted since I read it. This follows a woman named Sigourney Rose, who is a descendant of the royal family. She's one of the last survivors of a royal family, but unfortunately her entire family was murdered when she was a child by colonizers because fuck white people. And now, as an adult, Sigourney is doing a lot of behind the scenes, working her way up through these different royal families and trying to take down people and avenge her family's death. I really enjoyed this, and I thought Sigourney was a very interesting character. It was nice to see someone who is actually dark, rather than just people saying ooh, they're so dark, and then they call someone a bad word one time. No, Sigourney is evil, and I loved it. The next book is the first book that I read this year, and that is the New Mutants Demon Bear Saga comic. This is, I don't know who put this together, but essentially, this is an X-Men comic. It follows the New Mutants, who are a team of, mutants in training, I guess. And essentially, this is a bind-up of all of these stories that center around Danny Moonstar, or Mirage, and the demon bear that has followed her around since childhood, that killed her family. It's super interesting. The art's really pretty. Let me see if I can find some pretty art for you. Pretty art, where you at? Okay, so, I don't want to spoil, but, pretty art. It started my, newfound love of comic books, which I didn't have before. Also, I loved seeing us getting a native superhero. Still waiting on this goddamn movie to come out. Get on it, Disney. It was supposed to come out in 2018, and it hasn't yet, and I've still been waiting. Holding out hope that 2020 will be the year, finally, but I need to see my native queen, Danny Moonstar, on the big screen. The next book I'm going to talk about, I got back in September at BookNet Fest. My friend Kav bought this for me in a collab that we did that unfortunately never got posted. But it is Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina May Safi. This is a YA contemporary, female hate-to-love story following Sana and Rachel. They've been rivals ever since, Sana asked Rachel out on a date, and Rachel thought it was a joke, and they've hated each other ever since. You have the film geek, and you have the cheerleader, who are hate to love. Also, a queer romance between 2 women of color. We love to see it. The next book I have to talk about, I also read in, I believe, September, and that is Slay by Brittany Morris. I also talked about this in my Kwanzaa Reflectathon video, which I will link down below. We're trying to get all that promo in. I need the watch time, y'all. Slay follows a teenage girl named Kira Johnson, who by day is a straight A student at a predominantly white high school, and by night she logs into this online multiplayer roleplay game called Slay. She is the creator. It's Wakanda inspired. It follows it's such a beautiful display of the Black diaspora, and there's a good conversation about how safe spaces for minorities that are created for minorities are not inherently exclusive. They're not excluding the white people. It's that we, as marginalized people, are excluded from most white spaces. And why is it that whenever we want to carve out our own spaces, we are suddenly the bad guys? And I'm super good. It made me cry. The writing is fucking beautiful. I love video game books, which, I loved Ready Player One, but, this, is what I wanted Ready Player One to be. This is everything. The next book I have to talk about is one that I read, right at the end of the year. I got it for Christmas for my mom. It's called My Favorite Horror Movie. It is produced and edited by Christian Ackerman. This is 48 essays from different people who work in the horror industry, whether that be through film, or podcasts, or special effects, or directing, or however. It was so fun to read about what all of these people that I have idolized for so long, because I'm a huge horror movie fan. People that I have idolized since I was a child. Hearing about how they got into film and what made them fall in love with the genre that I know them from. It was a very meta reading experience for me. Essays talk about how horror and queerness are inherently related. There's one who talks about how she, as a woman who has experienced so much sexism in the industry, gets to feel empowered as a woman by playing these badass final roles who get to kick ass with weapons and save the day. If you are a fan of horror, I definitely recommend checking this out. I added it to my list, oh, we'll see, and I fucking loved it. It's not often that I read nonfiction, but I'm glad that I picked this one up. And there are also 2 more editions that I am hoping to get, 2 and 3. These last 3 are going to come as no surprise to anyone. I've talked about them all until I'm blue in the face. First, we have Mooncakes by Wendy Zhu and Suzanne Walker. This follows a hard-of-hearing witch and her childhood best friend who is a non-binary werewolf. It follows them reuniting after a long time and falling in love and saving the town from this thing that's going on in the woods. It's soft, it's cute, it's queer. I'm in love. I haven't said anything this year about Mooncakes that needs to be reiterated, but if there is one thing that I would want you to read this year, it would be this, because I think this is something that can be universally enjoyed. Everyone loves, unless you're a homophobic bigot, but yeah, I feel as far as community-wide, Mooncakes is one that everyone can enjoy. Next, I'm going to talk about There There by Tommy Orange, which I have talked so many people into reading this year. This is a book by a Native American author who follows 12 different perspectives as they are all going to the big Oakland powwow, and it's them all reliving their traumas and working through their traumas, and how all of them are inherently connected in some way. A multi-perspective novel. There are 12 different perspectives. There is an index at the front, a cast of characters, who they are and how they relate to each other, and also sprinkled through the narrative, there are these prologues and interludes that are Indigenous history. You can see I wrote on here, everything in this prologue made me cry. Or literary fiction, this, I think, is my number 1 recommendation of all time for that. Number 1, everyone say it with me. You all know it's coming. You've been waiting for it since you clicked on this fucking video. It's Wilder Girls by Rory Power. If there is one book that is my brand this year, it's Wilder Girls. I read this for the New Release Book Club, which was a book club I was hosting for a couple months. I will link the live show down below if you would like to talk about it. If you would like to watch that. I also have a full in-depth review video for this, which I will link down below as well. This follows a group of girls. How many times am I gonna have to talk about this book on my channel and like do the same description? Like, I've talked about this book so many fucking times on my goddamn channel. Wilder Girls follows a group of girls who are currently living on this island that's been quarantined because while they were at a prep school, this like virus swept over them and started mutating their bodies. It's very weird, it's very niche, it's very dark and gritty, but it's weird. I think everyone kind of fell for it because this cover is fucking gorgeous. I tend to not let myself reread books in the same year that I originally read them. But I've been waiting for 2020 to come around just so I can reread Wilder Girls. As I said, I don't really need to talk about this book anymore because you all fucking know. Alright, that's all I have for you today. I had a really good reading year, and I hope you did too. I wanted to do honorable mentions, but I had to really be like cut and dry with this because I read so many good books. Comment question of the day. I have two for you. I want you to A, tell me the best book that you read in 2019, and B, I want you to tell me your most anticipated release or read, backlist, whatever, reread for 2020. The book you loved the most last year, and then the book you're most excited to read this year. Alright, I hope you have a wonderful, whatever it is, wherever you are. I will see you next time with another video. Thank you for joining me today. Alright, I love you guys, and I will see you next time. Okay, cool, bye.